Namaste and welcome to this episode of the Thursday Thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls. We are back to sports and that to tennis. We are going to discuss the famous fives, as it's known as, because there are five setter finals, Grand Slam finals, and in that you will let us discuss five more important matches. I mean, the seeding can be anything. You can take some more, a few other matches that I'm not discussing today, but mainly the top five that are taken as classics in the realm of tennis, modern era tennis, that is, yes. Because recently we had on 25th of May the epic final between the top seed Italian Yannick Sinner versus the number two seed, the Spaniard Carlos Alcaraz, and the defending champ. And this is very rare that even the ladies circuit as well as the gents circuit, the finals was between seeded number one and two. How correct were the seedings, is it not? Now, coming to this epic final, we all have discussed and seen it. It ran for a duration of 5 hours and 29 minutes. That is around 329 minutes. And this is the second longest in the Open era in the Grand Slam finals are concerned. It was, of course, finally won by the Spaniard. 2 sets down. The first set he was down 4-6. The second set he lost in a tiebreaker 6-7. And the next three he won, and he goes on to win the championship, that is the French Open 2025 final, defending his 2024 title or cup. And that is how they played one of the best ever matches in the Open era. And I think it was a poetic justice because after the retirement of the famous Roger Federer and the famous Rafael Nadal, and of course even Novak Djokovic, the Joker, almost counting his days, if I may say so. Now we are looking at youngsters, and what a great youngsters this final was about. Both born in the 2000s, that is 23 years and 22 years respectively. Both Yannick Sinner of Italy and Carlos Alcaraz of Spain. So that was one of the epic finals. And the other four that we are going to discuss this evening are like this. We have the 2024 Australian Open final between Yannick Sinner, the fourth seed, and the third seed, Daniil Medvedev. And that was also 2 sets down, but for a change, it was Yannick Sinner who was 2 sets down, and he goes on to win the Australian Open in 2024 finals. So he defeated Daniil Medvedev, the number 3 seed, 3-6, 3-6, 6-4, 6-4, 6-3 in around 3 hours and 44 minutes. Not a very long duration match, but it figures a 5-setter. It figures a champion who 2 sets down has come to win the championship. Ladies and gentlemen, I am reminded of 2 sets down or 2 sets up and losing the match way back in 1981. That was the Indian, yes, it was Vijay Amritraj versus Jimmy Connors in the Wimbledon 1981 on 30th of June. Remember, 30th of June 2025, the Wimbledon will be kicking off. And this is the time between the Wimbledon and the French Open. So we are going to discuss a bit of tennis. And in that match, I mean, Vijay Amritraj, I remember to have tuned to the British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC's running commentary of the tennis match, Wimbledon tennis match, 1981, June 30th, 2 p.m. And the first two sets, Vijay Amritraj wins 6-2, 7-5, and the rest three are lost to Jimmy Connors. Of course, Jimmy Connors did not go on to win the championship. It was McEnroe. Anyway, that was 1981. And now coming back to the third five-setter epic final that I have chosen this evening. We have 2022 Australian Open finals between Rafa, who else it can be, Rafael Nadal, the sixth seed, and of course Daniil Medvedev and the second seed. So you will see this is the second time that Daniil Medvedev we are referring in an epic final in a five-setter. And as you all remember, 2022, the COVID year, Novak Djokovic was not allowed to play in Melbourne in the Australian Open, and Roger Federer had already called it quits. So that left the circuit open for Rafael Nadal. He goes on to win his 21st and Grand Slam in the Open era, and inches ahead of both his contemporaries Novak Djokovic 20 and Roger Federer 20 Grand Slams. He wins from 2-6, 6-7, 6-4, 6-4, 7-5, and this was till then the second longest match, 5 hours and 24 minutes. Remember the recent match, the French Open final between Alcaraz and Yannick Sinner, overtaking this by 5 minutes, lasting up to 5 hours and 29 minutes. You all know the history by now. Now we'll come to the fourth Grand Slam finals, one of the epic finals between Novak Djokovic, the 1 and 2, and 2 is Stefanos Tsitsipas. And that also in the French Open final, 2021 final, where the first two sets, Novak Djokovic was down 6-7 and 2-6. Then he goes on to win the rest three, 6-3, 6-2, and 6-4. The match, of course, lasting 4 hours and 11 minutes. So this was again another occasion wherein in the French Open, in the Roland Garros, RG, the famous RG, which has staged 6 of the 8 times the ultimate winner is 2 sets down to his opponents and goes on to win the championship. So that is how Djoko won his French Open final in 2022. Of course, the rest we have is the last but not the least. In fact, the most epic final of all, wherein 2012 finals, Australian Open final between Novak Djokovic and Rafael Nadal, the 1 and 2 seeded, the longest ever match in a Grand Slam final, wherein 5-setter, obviously we are talking about 5-setters only, and it took 5 hours and 53 minutes. And after the end of the match, you know what? Someone had to think of the players' legs, because their legs were trembling during the ceremony, in the prize distribution ceremony where the trophy was handed over. Both the players were asked to sit because their legs were trembling. Just imagine 5 hours and 53 minutes of top-notch, the highest class ever tennis, 2012 Australian Open final between Djokovic and Rafael Nadal. Ultimately, Novak Djokovic walking away as the winner with 5-7, 6-4, 6-2, 6-7, and 7-5, 5 hours and 53 minutes of epic final. Absolutely outstanding. This just goes on to tell that never say die. You can never say, I have lost, till you actually lose. Two sets up, you may lose. Two sets down, you may ultimately win. So never give up. Keep playing your best game, your natural game. Who knows, you may come out winner. That is the simple logic that these finals tell us. And one more famous, my daydream, you can call it today. I wish and I dream to see an Indian figuring in a final, Grand Slam final and winning. I only hope our Anand Mahindras or Chandrasekharan of Tatas, or even Noel Tata, they are listening. They should sponsor in a way that we will have a Grand Slam winner sometime sooner than later. Till then, ladies and gentlemen, till we meet next time, take care. Bye bye. God bless. Take care.